Well. Hello, everyone. It's been a while. Good to be back. Hope you all had lovely times off, holiday potentials, maybe not 2025 and so ons and so forths and whatever else you may or may not celebrate or believe. Who knows? But anyway, we are here. We are back. Welcome once again to your Wednesday night webinar. I am Dr. Patrick McGrath, Chief Clinical Officer for NoCD. NoCD, an online platform for the treatment of OCD and related conditions. Happy to be here tonight to work with you for another hour of Q&A. Of course, we're not doing therapy tonight, so happy to give some advice, but if you're looking for help and you want it, and you might even want it covered by insurance if you're here in the US, go to nocd.com. That's nocd.com, where we do work with OCD and related conditions like body-focused repetitive behaviors and hoarding and tics and all the other kind of things that come along with that. And we even do what I love, our NoCD 411 sessions. So if you're interested in what OCD is, but you're maybe not quite ready for primetime therapy, or you're a friend or a family member of someone who isn't quite ready to do work, but you want to get some Q&A done, our therapists are here for that as well. So check us out at nocd.com. And we work here in the US as well as in Canada and Australia and the UK. All right. Woo! Here we go. Let's get going on some questions. Can OCD cause you? Yes. Before I answer any more of that or read any more, yes, absolutely. Sure. Why not? 100%. Yeah, it could do that. Do I need to read any more? I guess I will, but I'm already telling you what the answer is. And about once or twice a week, we get this. Can OCD do? And the answer just for everyone is always, of course. Right. So, can OCD cause you to have supernatural abilities and bring a bad luck on you by your thoughts? Ha ha! You knew I was going to do that, didn't you? That was really good, Eric. I love it. See, this proves something. I don't read the questions beforehand. That was fantastic. Totally got me. I have to meet you someday, and then I will give you a little rub on the head just to say, good job. Nice work. You got me. That was awesome. No. That I love. That might be one of my favorite questions I've ever gotten. So there we go. But again, it does prove I don't read these ahead of time. That's good. So no, OCD cannot give you supernatural abilities. However, it can sure make it feel as if it does, right? That is something that it will absolutely try to get you to believe, is that you do somehow have those. As I'm looking down, I see even a question coming up from Al Sauce about what is magical thinking and some examples. Well, there's a great example there that OCD somehow gives me the abilities and powers and things that it can make things happen, right? Like if I think hard enough about my ceiling collapsing, that it will fall upon me or something of that nature. So that's what magical thinking would be, that OCD has powers and abilities and it can make things occur. OCD cannot make things occur unless you're Eric and you ask a funny question like that. Again, good job, Eric. That was very funny. Caden says, I know that OCD can cause feelings of false attraction, and you're doing your best not to ruminate. And if it's real or OCD, great, because there's just a rabbit hole. This is why we don't have people say, well, that's just my OCD as part of treatment, because then people start to wonder, well, how do I know it's my OCD? And what if this one isn't OCD, even though it feels like it's OCD? What if it's not OCD? And you're just going to go down and it's going to be terrible to try to do that. So we've moved away from that of trying to figure out what is or isn't OCD, because that in and of itself can become a compulsion for a lot of people. Do I have any tips on how to stop checking for attraction when doing ERP? Well, I wish I could tell you stop checking, right? That would be wonderful if we could just say stop checking. I haven't figured out yet how to get people to just stop checking. So it isn't going to be about stop checking. I mean, it'd be great if you could stop checking. Of course, that would be wonderful and something that we would love if you were able to do. What the reality in this situation, what I really want you to do is that if you do find yourself checking, undo it, right? If you do a compulsion mentally, somehow undo it by saying, I hope that was wrong, actually, or whatever it is, some kind of clause that you could put in there that will kind of, pull the rug out from under OCD, take the Mickey out of it, that kind of thing. Get rid of OCD's feeling of confidence in any way whatsoever, and bring back doubt, insecurity into the whole experience, because that is, of course, what OCD hates, It doesn't want doubt. It doesn't want insecurity, although it is nicknamed the doubting disorder, which means all it is about doubt. And it's telling you, give it an answer. And if you can give it an answer, that would be wonderful. And maybe that answer could finally be fulfilling to OCD. But I will bet you none of you have ever given an answer to OCD that was fulfilling enough for OCD to say, all right, I'm out of here. Thank you. That was awesome. You did it. You gave me everything I wanted. Not going to happen. So we're not going to try, right? We're not going to try. He cowboy says, hope you're doing well. Yep, your meds are presumably working well. It adds a whole new layer of fear you've gotten. Meta sort of thing of OCD. Your brain might say you might be another sexual orientation, but you have no anxiety, so I actually don't even know if it's OCD or not. How am I supposed to move on when I can't even do the first step, which is identifying the OCD thought? Well, again, sounds like a little OCD trickery going on here of how do I know if it's OCD or not, right? So if you're having thoughts or images or urges that you're finding yourself doing compulsions about, or which is some kind of mental or behavioral act to try to neutralize in some way, that's good enough for me, right? I don't care how you react to it, what the feeling is about it. Maybe it's different now than it was before because you're on medications or because you've done therapy. There's a lot of people who at the end of therapy say, now I'm really afraid that I have this thing because I'm not bothered by this thing anymore. So now that I'm not bothered by it, does it mean that I will do it? Well, for those of you who remember, I have a card in my wallet that says, I hope my parents died tonight. Please God, has a 666 on it. And guess who's not bothered by it whatsoever? This guy. Guess whose parents aren't bothered by it either? This guy's parents, right? So now that I'm not bothered by it, does it mean that I want it? Does it mean that I'm hoping that that's going to happen? Well, 18 years after writing it, they're still here. So even if I did want it to happen for the last 18 years, it doesn't have seemed to cause anything, right? So will the card be right one day? Yes, it will be. And my mom and dad know that the card will be right one day. Maybe it'll be before I go. Maybe it'll be after I go. I don't know. Who knows? But it will be right one day. How much blame should I have, hee cowboy, for the fact that I've written that down and that I don't have any bother of it whatsoever? Am I a terrible, awful person because I'm not bothered by the fact that I know my parents are going to die one day and that I've even written something down about, I hope it's tonight? Or can I just accept the fact that I was working with someone once, they had a fear like that. So I said, I don't like to do ERP with people unless I'm willing to do it too. And I'm always willing to do it. So here we go. And so I wrote it down and it's in my wallet and there it is. And guess who feels no guilt for it again? This guy. So I'm either a terrible, awful, horrible person, or I can just recognize that I can think things, I can say things, I can write things, I can have urges about things, I can have feelings about things, I can have images about things, and they don't have to actually mean anything whatsoever. And I'm going to go with that. That's how I'm going to take it. And you say, is it normal to be numb and indifferent to intrusive thoughts? I think it's, well, I don't even know what normal means, but, and if John Grayson was here, he would say, well, there's probably no such thing as an intrusive thought anyway. So can we be indifferent to the thoughts and images and urges that pop into our head? Of course we can. 100% we can. Remember, there are, put three people in front of an elevator. Person number one thinks, awesome, I love elevators. Person number two thinks, finally the elevator's here, I need to get to my floor. Person number three thinks, oh my gosh, if I get on the elevator, I'm going to die. Well, which one's right? They all experience the exact same thing. The elevator arriving. Is the one who's excited about the elevator the right thought? Is the one who's indifferent to it the right thought? Or is it the person who's afraid of it having the right thought? Or are they all having legit thoughts and they're all just different, even though it's the exact same stimuli? Should we blame one for having the thought and applaud one for having the thought and not care about another one for having the thought? Or can people just have thoughts and images and urges, and that's the way that it is? And that's exactly what it is that. Let's see. Kelly says, hi, I have multiple themes with pure O. I don't feel like I'm doing any compulsions, and the jolt of panic that pops up multiple times a day is getting bad. Any tips? Yes, interoceptive exposures, because if the panic reactions are really bugging you, I would want to teach you how to manage any kind of panic reaction. So we would do something called interoceptive exposures. And those are exposures specifically designed to teach you how to handle all of the various physical sensations that you might get from panic. So those sensations would be things Like I would have you do running in place, hyperventilating, breathing through straw, spinning in a chair, teaching yourself that you can handle any of the sensations brought on by any kind of panic feeling whatsoever. And I think once you learn that you can handle that, those sensations won't really bother you anymore. And then there's not much to worry about, right? I would hope so. What's my opinion on TMS, and can a change impact your sexuality? I have seen people use TMS. Some people have reported it's been helpful, others have not. And I have no idea about that impact on sexuality whatsoever. So I've never heard anything about it from that area. Eli says you've been struggling with OCD for about a year, and you did a compulsion that has led to real event OCD, and because of it, you feel guilty. Are compulsions your fault, specifically if it happened once? Kind of an evasive question. So, are compulsions your fault? Well, I always talk about the fact that people have a choice to do a compulsion. We don't have to do a compulsion, and we could just learn how to live with the discomfort brought on by whatever obsession led to the compulsion. I always say compulsions are something that have to be under our control. Otherwise, there would be no therapy to help anybody whatsoever, right? If compulsions were absolutely out of our control and there was nothing that we could ever do about them, there's no ERP, there's no CD, there's no International OCD Foundation, other than it's, woe is me, I have OCD, and everybody would just go to the conference and just complain about the fact they have OCD, and there'd be nothing that they could do about it. So in that sense, what I would say is, we always want to work with people to show them that they have other options than doing the compulsion. Now, I don't know how doing a compulsion leads to real event OCD. And just because you have guilt doesn't mean that there's anything bad going on. And I say that because I know the DSM definition talks about OCD in terms of anxiety or distress. What it leaves out is things like feelings of shame or guilt or disgust. And those also play a role in obsessive compulsive disorder. And a lot of people will feel those things in relation to OCD whenever they have an obsession. So it isn't just an anxiety feeling. It is also a guilt feeling or a shame feeling or a disgust feeling or any other untoward or unwanted emotion that we could potentially have. OCD will go there as a way to get us to do a compulsion. Don't feel like feeling guilty about something is unique in any way whatsoever with OCD. It is not, right? OCD will use anything that it can to get somebody to feel crappy enough to do a compulsion. Let's see. James says, when I do something that's morally wrong, I feel like I need to confess it to a friend for reassurance and feel better after. What's good ERP? Why does the confession need to happen? And how is your friend the arbiter of things that are good or right or morally acceptable? First of all, I don't even know that what you're doing is or isn't morally wrong. So OCD has such a warped sense of what is right or wrong morally, one never knows. I'm going to put in a plug. John Hirschfield and I have been putting in for doing a talk at the International OCD Foundation for the last umpteen years about moral scrupulosity. We did them years and years ago. They were really fun, and they haven't accepted them. So putting you on list there, OCD Foundation. No, hopefully they'll take it. We'll see. But we always have a great time doing that talk. And if you're interested in moral scrupulosity, actually, you can go online to the International OCD Foundation. John and I did a 3-part series that Ethan Smith hosted about moral scrupulosity, and you can see tons of stuff there about it. The very act of confessing something to a friend is a compulsion, and if you feel better or relieved or some other kind of great feeling after doing that compulsion of that confessing, it's just going to lead you to doing that more and more, and it's going to get you stuck more and more in doing compulsions. So if you do something that you feel could be judged, I want you just to work on keeping it to yourself without having to use your friend as what I would often call an external conscience. I can't trust my own judgment in this situation. I must have someone else tell me if it's fine or okay. And that's not what we want to do. Angela says, how do I stop compulsions and stick to it? You're constantly on edge and anxious. Your only relief is when you're sleeping. Everything you do is a process. It's like you have a constant bully in your head all day, and it won't stop. it's not easy to ignore it because our famous line, "It feels so real," yes, makes it so hard to move on and go about your day without doing compulsions. You see things, you hear things, constantly do whatever it is you're doing a certain amount of times until it feels just right, like washing hands, light switches on and off, walking in and out of rooms, etc. And it will continue to feel that way, Angela. It will continue to feel so real, and you will continue to do those compulsions to try to alleviate that until there's a day that you decide it's okay to feel uncomfortable. And you might say, but I already feel uncomfortable. You're right. And I get it. You absolutely do already feel uncomfortable. I'm asking you to feel a little bit more uncomfortable today. And that little bit more uncomfortable today is going to involve not giving in to what OCD wants you to do. Because, Angela, here's just the basic tenet of the entire thing. Everybody, listen in for a moment here. Just really pay attention to this for a second. If doing compulsions helped, I don't have a job. If doing compulsions helped, you don't need treatment. Right? So how are the compulsions actually helping you, Angela? What are they really doing for you? Absolutely nothing other than they are feeding OCD and making it worse over time, right? So you're being lied to, in a sense, in your own brain by having this thing pop in there that triggers some kind of anxiety or shame or disgust or guilt. And you're trying to do anything that you possibly can to remove that experience as quickly as possible. We call this negative reinforcement, the removal of some kind of aversive in order to feel better. So I'm going to do some kind of action to negate that whole experience that I had. And guess what happens? I feel better when I do that. I feel better when I have that removal of that experience. Well, since OCD can do that so quickly, it feels like that's the only answer. That's the only way to do something. It's the best way to move forward. And therefore, what is going to happen? People are going to continue to do that more and more and more. And so, Angela, you're going to keep saying, I'm going to do things until they feel just right. Okay. How long will that go for? 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years? Until you're not here anymore? Because I will tell you this, Angela, you will never do it enough to satisfy OCD for OCD to say, thank you, Angela. You have finally now washed your hands and done things just right enough times that I will now go because you have now fulfilled my wishes and everything that I wanted. So I'm going to go back to Angela. Are you willing to feel a little bit more discomfort? And what is that little bit more discomfort? Not doing what OCD wants you to do. And when you do that, it's going to scream at you. It's going to be like a child in a candy aisle not getting candy, and it's going to throw a tantrum. Are you willing to allow it to throw a tantrum and to recognize that, Wicked is very popular right now. OCD is kind of like the wizard, right? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Well, turns out, what power does OCD actually have over you? Right? What can it actually do to you? Sure, it can make you feel terrible. I get that part. And I'm 100% understanding of that. But tell me what else it can do to you. Can it send you to jail? No. Can it destroy your life? I think it could if you keep it. But if you don't do what it wants you to do, what can it actually do to you? Scream louder? That's about what it is. If you don't do what OCD wants you to do, it's going to scream louder. And I say, all right, bring it up. Scream louder. Go ahead, keep screaming. If I don't know, Angela, how old you are or anything like that. But if Angela, if you have a child and every time you go to that child cries, you go pick it up, there's going to come a point where you're going to be like, I don't understand why my child won't stop crying. And it will be because you taught it that every time it cries, you pick it up and you take care of it. And so the day that you decide not to pick it up, guess what it's going to do? It's going to scream more. And if you're going to go, well, boy, it's screaming more, I better go pick it up. What's it going to learn? Now I have to scream this level in order to get attention. And then if the next day you said, I'm not going to go in today and pick it up, and then it screams up to here, oh, what do you learn? Now OCD learns, now I got to scream to this level to get attention. OCD will take it where it needs to go for you to do the compulsion. It's on you, Angela, to decide, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give in today. No matter what the tantrum is, no matter what the feeling is, no matter how real it feels, OCD is virtual reality. It's a mirage, right? I've said this before, but Angela, I could take you onto a tennis court, and that has no net, has no poles. It's just flat cement. You could look all around and see that you're on absolutely flat ground. I then put a virtual reality goggle on you. I turn it on and I say, okay, look down, and you are standing at a cliff. You will probably take a step back. You know logically you're standing on solid ground. I have tricked you into believing that you are on a cliff. That's OCD. OCD is a trick. That's what it is. Right? It is a trick. And when you finally accept that and say, you know what? No more compulsions. That's great. When Stacy's on here and we're talking about substance use, right? And there comes a point where somebody who's addicted to something says, no matter how bad it gets, no more alcohol, no more drugs. And your brain's going to scream, saying, we can't deal with this. We can't handle this. You need something. We need something here. We cannot do this by ourselves. I'm not going to do it. You need a substance. You must have it. It's the only way you're going to get through this. I'm not going to do it. And then what do? You get through it. And what do you learn? My brain might lie to me sometimes. Maybe not everything I hear in my head is true. What do you know? That could just be the way that it goes. Christy says, is relationship OCD when I fear I'll never be sure about anyone ever again? It could be, Christy, right? But I don't know that I'm sure about anyone, and I don't have obsessive compulsive disorder. I can never be 100% sure about anyone at all, right? So I can still have relationships. I could still go out and meet people. I could still work on trusting people. But can I ever be 100% sure about anyone? I've never even tried to be, right? Because I know it's not possible. And since I know it's not possible, why waste my time? And so, Christy, I just ask, are you setting a goal that's not attainable? Because that's never been really helpful to anyone, right? I mean, imagine if I opened up a university and said, Christy, welcome to McGrath University. So glad you're here. Remember to go to every single course, pay all your tuition bills, buy all the books. By the way, I wrote all of them. Oh, and Christy, just so you know, you're never actually going to graduate. No one will ever take enough courses to actually get out of here. But we're so thrilled to have you here at McGrath University. Keep coming, keep trying, keep pushing, keep doing everything that you can to graduate. But just know it will never actually happen. We're so thrilled to have you here. Christy, would you stay at my university if that was the case? Now replace McGrath University with OCD. Hey, Christy, it's your OCD. Welcome. So glad you're here. Christy, I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff at you, and I'm going to give you a way out. And just know that there'll be times where, for moments, you'll feel as if you've achieved what I wanted you to achieve. But it's just a mirage. It's just a joke. Because then I'm going to throw stuff back at you again, and you're going to have to do it all over again. You're mine, Christy, just so you know. And there's no way out. There's this no CD and McGrath guy will probably say things to you like there's this thing called exposure and response prevention. They're lying. Don't listen to them. That's bullshit. You're mine forever. So keep trying, Christy, to get rid of me, but you never will, just so you know. And that's the message OCD wants to send to you, that you're stuck. There's nothing you can do to get out. Now, we know that that's not actually true, but boy, isn't OCD very convincing. Okay. Awesome Sauce says, Doctor, I'm so afraid I may or may not have committed a crime as a teen. I regret what I did every ounce of my being. I feel like I don't deserve help, but I'm also afraid to get help. I committed a crime as I was a teen. I did speed. I did drive my car much faster than it was supposed to be driven. So, and in fact, at one point, I remember it was my mom's car. It's an old Delta 88 Oldsmobile. I was on a 50 mile an hour road, and I took it to 100, which is twice the speed limit, which would be a felony. And so, Awesome Sauce, I too have committed a crime as a teen. Who should I turn myself into? What authorities should I go back to the county where it happened and go to the police station and say, officer, I'd like to turn myself in. When I was 18 years old, I was driving my mom's Delta 88 Oldsmobile down one of the roads, and I was at the top of a hill. And my mom, she didn't drive really on the highways very much. And if we took my mom's car, it's my dad who drove if we were going on the highway. And my dad always drove slow with my mom because, she didn't like highways at that point in time. Now she drives all over the place. She's awesome. But, earlier in life, wasn't into it so much. So I gunned it at the top of the hill. And I'll tell you, the engine made this roaring sound. All this sooty black smoke just blew out of the engine like crazy. And I think I created a smoke screen, actually. So if anyone was behind me, they might have actually not even been able to see the road with all the carbon and stuff that came out of the engine, because it had never probably been driven like that before. And the car just went roar, and it just took off, and it was like a horse being freed of its bridle, and it just went whammo. So Awesome Sauce, let me know in the comments, please, what your thoughts are about how I should present myself to the authorities for the crime that I did commit. And now I'm wondering, should I have any help whatsoever, or should a lawyer might be helpful? So maybe I should have no lawyer whatsoever and throw myself at the mercy of the court for the fact that A, I did twice the speed limit, and B, I created quite the smoke screen behind me that maybe other cars went off the road because they couldn't see anymore. So just let me know, Awesome Sauce, what you think. Quentin says, can you please talk about the impact of OCD on executive functioning? Well, in a sense, a little bit I can. And, I will say this, we know that there's quite a relationship between lack of executive functioning and hoarding. That has been pretty established out there. In terms of OCD, the thing that I think you might see with executive functioning is how much time is somebody being distracted by OCD and therefore not really paying attention to other things that need to happen in their life. And when it goes to that level, I think that's when we're really looking at programs, right? Higher levels of care, intensive outpatients, which are 3 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week, partial hospital programs, which are 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, residential treatment centers where you go and you live, because OCD is so interfering in life that even potentially some of the most basic things that you need to get done are not getting done because you're spending so much time on obsessive compulsive disorder, doing compulsions and listening to OCD. Kelly says, intrusive thoughts have not been bothering you lately, so it has turned into intrusive harm urges now. Do you have any advice on how to help with these urges? And is there a reason they feel so real? They have to feel real, Kelly. If they didn't, you wouldn't be writing to me, right? So it has to feel real. That's number one. Going back to our earlier question, you got me. But it absolutely has to feel real. I've never met an OCD that didn't feel real to someone. If you ever find an OCD that doesn't feel real, let me know. Although you won't let me know because it won't be bothering you because it won't feel real. So that would be kind of an oxymoronic kind of statement right there. And in terms of the switch from maybe the thoughts to the urges, OCD does this all the time. Right? We see this happen constantly. There's changes in the way that OCD appears. Sometimes it switches themes. Sometimes it switches the way that it appears, urges whatsoever. So if the harm thoughts are now harm urges, you're feeling like an urge, let's say, to run someone over on a bicycle who's riding in the street with your car. One of the things that I do after watching a movie as a child called The Toxic Avenger, terribly awful B horror film, and it's amazingly wonderful, where the Toxic Avenger sees someone who used to make fun of him before he got made into the Toxic Avenger, and this kid's riding a bike, and the Toxic Avenger goes, "Ooh, 50 points," and then he runs the kid over. After watching that movie, I cannot help but assign points to all people in the street, on bicycles, walking, whatever it would be. I assign all sorts of point values to people. I don't go run them over. And I might even have an urge to rev the engine or something like that. But guess what? I don't do. So we almost have a feeling here like if I have a thought or an image or an urge, it's a bad thing. Oh, you know what that's called? Thought action fusion. Yeah. We have a name for it actually in OCD. We see it happening all the time where people think if I have a thought or an image or an urge, it's just as bad as doing the action. All right. So everybody, wherever you're at right now, stare at your ceiling and wish for it to collapse on you for the next 10 seconds. Go. Oh, and don't do a compulsion to stop it. Didn't happen. Oh, you all know what's coming next. Hey, Kelly, guess what? At some point during the next half hour of the show here, we're at 28 minutes left, 27 minutes and 50 seconds, actually. What's going to happen is I'm going to take one of the bottles of alcohol I have in my home. I'm going to put a piece of cloth in. I'm going to light it on fire. I'm going to go across the street. I'm going to light it on fire. I'm going to throw it at my neighbor Dave's house as a Molotov cocktail. Then I'm going in the middle of the street. I'm going to take a poop in a bag. And then I'm going to take the bag. I'm going to light it on fire. I'm going to put it in front of my friend Josh's house. Then I'm going to ring the doorbell. I'm going to run away. And I'm ding dong dish him. And then he's going to come out and he's going to see a flaming bag. And then he's going to step on it. And it's going to get poopy flames on him. And I'm going to go, ha ha, you got poopy flames on your shoe. And then I'm going to shoot 3 geese. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish off this show. I have an urge to do that, Kelly. What should I do now? How many compulsions should I do? How bad should I feel for having the urge to do all of those things? You let me know. Bruce's Buzz says, hey, Dr. McGrath, you're dealing with a skin and nail picking, body focused repetitive behavior and also tics. You're being told this is neurological. Is any of this physically dangerous to your health, or is it the habit reversal meant to get rid of the annoying behavior, but it's not actually dangerous? The only danger that I'll see in terms of picking and things could be the chance for more potential for some infections in your skin because you're opening up things and because you're opening up your skin, which is a protective mechanism for your body, you're leaving chances for germs and things to get in there, and there could be some infection. So sometimes that's why when people are picking at their nails, you see sometimes it gets really red and irritated or something. Now, that could be from the action of picking, but that could also be maybe something got in there and is irritating the skin. Either way, Bruce, habit reversal totally helps with this, and we do that here at NoCD. So if you're looking for help, anyone, for OCD or related conditions like body-focused repetitive behaviors, trichotillomania, which is hair pulling, excoriation, which is skin picking, you've got nail biting, cheek biting, you've got lip biting, all those things. We can do some help with that with some habit reversal therapy. We also do work with hoarding and lots of other associated things too. So check us out at nocd.com if that's something that you're interested in getting some help with. We have, 25 minutes until potentially blowing up the neighbor's house. Let's see how it goes. AMG says, dealing with religious OCD, how can I continue to practice your faith and accept thoughts that so clearly feel against God? The chronic guilt makes me feel as if I have to keep repenting. Well, here's the deal. OCD does love to pick on the things that are most important to you. And I'm going to have a feeling, AMG, that religion and your faith are very important to you, which means that's where OCD is going to go. And since OCD is going to go there because it's important, it's going to lead you to believe, oh, I want these thoughts and what a bad person I am for having them or something of that nature. Now, this is an OCD type of thing. Could you, gosh, there's so many ways to go with it. Could you really be harmful to your deity? I mean, does your deity know what OCD is, or are they ignorant of it or something like that? There's lots of places to go. In the end, though, no matter what, here's what I want you to be able to recognize. It doesn't matter what we think or the urges that we have or the images that pop into our head. What matters is how we react to them. If we can have them and let them go, guess what happens over time? They very typically fade into the background. Maybe not 100%, but they very typically fade into the background. But if you want them to stick around forever, guess what you should do? Compulsions. Now that may sound weird because you may say, but wait, I do compulsions to get rid of the thoughts and the images and urges. And I'll say, yeah, I get it. And the mere fact of doing compulsions and paying attention to the obsessions leads you to have more obsessions. Think about that for a minute. Okay. The more you try not to think of something, the more you're going to think about it. It's a natural kind of paradoxical way the brain works. Some of you may know where we're going here. The pink elephant has arrived. Do not think of the pink elephant. Do not picture the pink elephant in your head. Have no thoughts of pink elephants. If you're prone to compulsions about pink elephants, do them now. And then that will make the pink elephant go away. Oh no, it's still here. Look at that. Maybe you didn't do the compulsion right. Try again. Oh, still here. Maybe you need to be more intense and purposeful about the compulsion. Try again. Oh, no, it's still there. Now, I'm just going to put it down because it's going to get boring to hold the pink elephant. But the more you try not to think of this, and the more things you do to try to make that go away, the worse you're going to feel. It's just the way that it is. If compulsions worked, I would prescribe them to people. I would go up to folks and say, hey, seems you're having a rough day. You've thought about a compulsion. Think it could be really helpful for you. How many of you have ever gone up to a best friend or a loved one and said, you know what? This OCD has been great for me. It's really done wonders for my life. It's really been helpful. I'd like to share it with you because I think it can make your life better too. Anyone? Any hands up on that one? No? Interesting. Why fight so hard to keep something that you wouldn't want anyone else to have? And when I say fight so hard, why do so many compulsions to satisfy OCD, which all it does is then keep it around, instead of giving up on compulsions and getting yourself to realize, oh, I'm being lied to. I don't actually have to do those things. It's not actually mandatory. It isn't really real. I've been bamboozled. I've been lied to. Bah humbug. Right? Bruce says, also let the NoCD community know that there's a loop tape function on the app, which has been very helpful to you and anyone using scripts or loop tapes. Yes, I love the loop tape. AMG says, and how can I read my Bible with thoughts blaring anytime I pick it up? It's terrifying. Well, then you read your Bible, right? And you allow your thoughts to be there. And after a while, what'll happen when you don't give in to them anymore and don't do compulsions about them anymore, they'll probably get a little louder, and then they'll kind of typically start to fade into the background. And then you just continue to read your Bible. But the moment, AMG, you say, I can only read my Bible without any of these thoughts, well, you're never going to read your Bible again without those thoughts. Because you've given OCD an ultimatum. You've said, all right, OCD, I'll do whatever you want me to do, and then I'll read my Bible. Well, you're never going to satisfy OCD enough to have done anything it wants you to do, which means you're never going to comfortably read your Bible. So take your Bible out, read it, and even if those things are blaring in the back of your head, be like, all right, yeah, whatever, sure, okay, fine, yeah, okay. Is what it is, yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Okay. And continue on. That's how you win. If anybody's watched the end of the movie It, you know what I'm talking about. When the adults now are fighting it, it's just kicking the shit out of them. And then Mike says, there's more than one way to make someone small. Make them believe that they are. And Pennywise goes, what? Small? Me? And then Pennywise goes to hit him and he can't. It's like there's a force field suddenly there. And then the other ones are going, you're a ninny. You're an old bag. You're a blah, blah, blah. And they start calling it names. And it goes, I'm the eater of worlds. And it tries to attack him again and it can't. And then it got this look on its face like, what's going on? And then they start walking toward it and they're calling it names and calling it and telling it all these things. And it's going through all these convulsions and everything. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it's a tiny little baby clown. And then they rip its heart out. And they crush it. When they were fighting it, they were losing in their battles because they believed it was real. They believed in the strength of it. They believed how strong it was. And when they finally decided, I don't think you're real. I don't think you're telling the truth. That's when they won. So you can all keep fighting OCD, feeling like you've won a minor little victory when you do a compulsion, but then it comes back and then you're disappointed and then you feel a minor little victory doing compulsion. And then it comes back again and you feel like you can do that for the rest of your life. Or you could say, all right, OCD. Okay, yeah, sure. All the thoughts. Okay, sure, whatever. Like I said about my wallet. Yep, you know what? I hope my parents die tonight. Okay. I hope I run across the street with a Molotov cocktail and throw it at my neighbor's house. Okay. I 100% accept those thoughts or those images or even those urges. Absolutely 100% accept them. Will they happen? I don't know. Can I live with the not knowing? 100%. You know, after this is over tonight, I'm going to go lift weights. I could drop one on my toe and break it. It's a possibility. Should I not lift weights after the webinar due to the fact that it is possible that I could be harmed by doing it? Or is there a compulsion that I could do? Maybe I should check the weights constantly to make sure that the screws are tightened, the nuts are tightened, the lock nut is there and everything. And I never actually lift the weight up because I spend the next hour checking the weight just to make sure that everything's in place and nothing bad will happen to me. Oh, and then when the hour's up, then I have an appointment at that hour. So then, well, I didn't actually lift any weights, but boy, at least now I feel good about the fact that the nuts locked. So after the appointment, then what I'll do is then I'll go lift weights after that. Okay, fine. I'll go lift weights after that. And so then I'll do my appointment. Then I'll go to lift weights and go, but what if, I mean, I know I live alone, but what if somebody snuck in my house and moved the weight and moved the lock, right? Or I've never seen a mouse or anything in my house, but what if a mouse did get in? It's pretty cold outside. I'm sure they're trying to get in. What if a mouse got in and then it landed on top of the lock and the nut and the gears and all this? I forget the names of everything. What if it landed on it and it was just enough pressure on it that it loosened it a little bit? And then I'd be doing curls, and every time that I lifted it, it slightly moved a little bit. And then I'd go to my last curl, and all the weights on that side would just fall off and land on my toe. I guess I should probably just make sure they're really tightened again. And then it'll be midnight. I'll be like, oh, shoot, I really do try to go to bed by midnight. I should probably get in there. All right. Well, tomorrow I'm going to work out. Yeah. That's when I'll do it. But boy, at least tonight, I assured myself that all of the weights were secure and I didn't break my toe. So that was really great. I'll call that a win. I did no lifting whatsoever, which was my goal, but hey, at least I didn't get hurt. And so that'll be good enough. And then tomorrow, when I go to lift the weight up, I'll be like, I don't know, does it feel right? I mean, it sounded okay, but I also thought I might have felt a little shimmy in there. Boy, I don't want a shimmy in the weight, do I? I mean, that could mean that the lock nut has come loose a little bit. Maybe just a few minutes of checking. And then tomorrow night, I don't lift weights again because I spent the entire night looking to see if they were locked and everything was okay. But you know what? I'm fixing to get ready to lift some weights tomorrow. That's what I'll do. So now, 3 weeks from now, I've still never done a curl, but boy, I'm tonight. Now, 3 weeks from now, that night, I'm finally, yes, I really feel like it's locked. And boy, tomorrow, I cannot wait. I cannot wait till tomorrow to finally lift some weights, and then tomorrow will come. And there will be another excuse to not lift it because you know what? Maybe just in case I shouldn't wear gym shoes. Maybe I should buy some steel-toed shoes. So, all right, tonight I'm going to go to the shoe store, and now I'm going to buy some steel-toed shoes because then, even though I'm really feeling great about the lock now, but just in case, just in case it happens. I'll have steel-toed shoes on, and that'll be great because then. Oh, but wait a minute, oh man, I'll tell you, they're only called steel-toed shoes. They're not steel shoes. What if it doesn't fall on the toe? What if it falls on like the front of the foot by my leg there? That could really hurt the ankle a ton. All right. Well, maybe. Okay. I'm going to kneel. That's it. I'll kneel now when I lift weights, when I'm doing curls. I'm just going to kneel. And that'll be great. So, but boy, my arms though, it seems to, when I'm kneeling, the weight, when it goes down, hits the ground. And then if the weight hits the ground, that could loosen up the nut a little bit. And, oh man, if that happens, and then let's say I do a lift and I'm trying to do one of those over your head lifts for your traps or something. And then maybe when I lift it up, then the weight could fall off and hit my head. Oh God. So now, no, that's not going to work either. Hard hat. Yeah. All right. I'll wear steel-toed shoes. I'll kneel on the ground and I'll wear a hard hat when I lift weights. Yeah. That'll do it. That should be that. I wonder how the hard hat's graded though. Boy, and it probably, man, do you go, where do I go for hard hats? I mean, is the hardware store, are they good enough? They feel kind of flimsy. I don't know. Maybe. All right. Tonight I'm going to read up on, I'm going to go on Google and I'm going to read about hard hats. Okay. Sure. That'll probably just take like a week to really understand hard hats and how hard hats work. And then after really reading it, then I'll order the perfect hard hat. How do I size it? I mean, I was told by a haberdasher once I have a large size head. I wonder. Oh boy, do you have to measure your head? No. Boy, do I have a tape measure? Oh, I don't know that I do. I've got a. Let's see. I got a ruler here, but that's kind of. That's a little weird, and it doesn't. Oh no, it broke. Oh God. Oh, I broke my ruler. Oh geez, isn't that terrible? Oh my God. Now, how am I going to measure? Oh man, I really like that ruler too. It was. Oh my God, that ruler was so. Oh, now I got to buy a new ruler. Oh, okay. Well, now I can't even lift weights because, I mean, first of all, I really love that ruler. I mean, it was pink. It was totally awesome and everything. It was neon, and now God. All right. Well, before I lift weights, I'm gonna have to do some research on rulers now, and then once I find the ruler, because I use the ruler actually. As funny as this is, I've got this little thing under my keyboard just to kind of protect the desk that I'm on. And I had the ruler sitting there because the thing that it was on wobbled a little bit, and the ruler fit just perfectly under there to make it not wobble. And now it's going to wobble again. And God, now when I'm typing, it's going to wobble. And that's going to be so annoying tomorrow when I'm seeing all of my members and talking to them because I'm going to be typing things, but then I'm going to have this wobble and this moving sound and everything. Boy, is that going to suck. So, all right. So the first thing that I need to probably do is actually go and find a ruler. But I should probably bring this ruler with me so that I can measure it against other rulers and make sure that it's exactly the right width and everything. Because I mean, the length, we all know it's a 12-inch ruler, that's it. But it's really the width of it, because this was just the perfect width to be able to put inside of there to prevent the wobble from actually happening. And then only then will it be, because, I just tried for the 6 inches because it broke in half and it still got a little wobble. So I think I really need the 12 inches, but I can't trust it if I put the whole thing in there. Now that it's not solid, probably after I move a little bit, it'll start separating from itself, and then there'll be a space there that it won't quite give the same effect that it was already given before. So, man. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow we're going to go get the ruler, and then we'll do that. And then I can do my sessions, and then I can go ahead and I can practice kneeling. And first I got to go get the shoes. All right, I got to get the steel toe shoes. Even though I'm going to be kneeling, it's probably best, because what if I go, over my head with the weight, and oh shoot, not only would it hit my head, it could hit my leg, because if I'm going back and I'm kneeling, it could hit the back of my feet. God. All right, I'm just going to have to get like steel shoes, I think, or like really huge boots, maybe ski boots. They're really hard plastic on them. All right, so I'm going to work out in ski boots, and that'll be great. And that's what I'll do. And then after I do that and I get the hard hat, the hard hat's going to take like 3 weeks. All right, well, I could spend the next 3 weeks making sure the nuts are really locked well and that they aren't going to move or anything. And then when the hard hat comes, then so I'll have my ski boots, I'll be kneeling, I'll have the hard hat on, and then I can do a curl. There we go. That should work. I think that should be everything that I need. Right? Sound about right to anyone? Is that someone said R.I.P. ruler? What do you think of that? Anybody kind of gone through that at all? So, whew. I mean, that was exhausting, and I don't have OCD. I can only imagine what having it would be like, and doing that all of the time, and looking at how overwhelming that whole experience would be. Right? And HG's right. I could still injure myself if I don't do proper form. Yeah, that you are right, HG, about that as well, right? So do we ever do anything right or well enough for OCD? I don't think so. I've never met anyone who did. Right. It isn't about doing everything for OCD. It's about knowing that OCD lies to you and that you never are going to do enough for it whatsoever. Okay. That's what's important. Let's just see if there are any other questions here. Can I talk a little about suicidal OCD, and is it treatable? Of course it's treatable. We treat it all the time. You can have fears of harming others, and you can have fears of harming yourself. Right? They're both treatable. Absolutely treatable. It can feel very overwhelming, obviously, because you're afraid of what if I were to do this? But you can learn how to live with whatever the thoughts or the images or the urges are. And there's a difference between I really want to end my life and I'm afraid of what if I were to, right? I've seen people who can't even go outside because they're afraid, what if there's a knife on them? And what if they use it on themselves or on someone else throughout the day? And so they get to the door of their home, but before they leave, they strip down naked and they check themselves to see that there's no knives on them. They check all their pockets multiple times to make sure they don't have a knife in their pocket or something like that, right? They're doing all of these things to try to check and check and check and check. And they don't ever find one, but they feel convinced then that, okay, it's a good thing I did that because in case there was one, at least now I've prevented that thing from happening. OCD will always find the good in a compulsion. Always. Again, if there were good in compulsions, I would be giving them out to people. And I would say to folks, hey, I really think that this would be helpful to you. Really think that this would be awesome. But I don't think any of you believe that, and I sure don't believe that either. Now, we're under 3 minutes away from the ceiling either collapsing on me or me running across the street with a Molotov cocktail and blowing up my neighbor's house. Or maybe just because I have an image of it or a thought of it or an urge of it, maybe once again, I'm not going to do it. There's always next time, though, right? There's always until we meet again. So everybody, keep this in mind. If OCD were telling the truth and helpful, we'd be giving it out like candy to everybody, right? But that's not what we do. If OCD had your best interest at heart, none of you would feel anxious or uncomfortable. But it sure doesn't have your best interest at heart, right? You have a choice. Do you do what OCD wants? Or do you do what you want to do? Do you live the life that you want to live? Or do you live the life that OCD wants you to live? That's up to you. My hope is you're not going to live the life that OCD wants you to live. You're going to live the life that you want to live. If you're looking for help, check us out at nocd.com, where we're there to assist you with help for obsessive compulsive disorder, body focused repetitive behaviors, hoarding, tics, all sorts of other accompanying things. We take insurance. We got people standing by ready to take your call. So go to nocd.com, nocd.com. And someone was asking, who are we listening to at the beginning? Well, everyone, my buddy Paul Melia, who has a great song called Hold On to the Colors. Check it out. Thank you all. We'll see you again in a week. Have a good one.